Hello, welcome, good evening. Hope everyone's having a great evening. I have had a very busy day. I'm sure you guys have had too. Always great to wind down the day with one of these streams. If it's your first time here, welcome. This is a place where we take calls for about 2 hours. We never knew who's going to call or what they're going to talk about. And I'm getting notifications. Apologies. I'm muting those. We never know who's going to talk about what. We try to remain impartial and avoid getting philosophical or ideological. And we just listen. And we give support as we can. None of us here are psychologists or therapists. This is just a place where we try to be good friends. This community is evolving into a place where a lot of people here have gone through lots of different things. And so we just try to listen and provide ideas to callers. And yeah, it's pretty simple. And with that, we're going to just open up these lines here and jump right in. We've got a number here, 1-800 number. You can call it. There's a little bit of a phone menu system that you need to get through. So you should probably anticipate your calls by about, probably take you about 20 seconds to get in is my guess. If it's your first time calling, please listen to the phone prompts in the menu system. You can just call and press 1 if it's your first time calling to get a good idea of what to expect. You can also read the video description. Otherwise, we have to toast you, which means I hang up. That's the rundown. And with that, we're taking our first caller. Hi, thanks for calling.
Oh, hello?
Hi. What you want to talk about?
Hey. I would like to open up about something I've been going through since I was a little kid.
Okay.
This is my first time calling, by the way, and I
Welcome.
recently looked up some of your older videos to kind of get back into the get back into what I used to like to watch, and that was kind of I just stumbled across this, which I thought was kind of neat. And but yeah, when I was a younger guy in 8th grade, I'm a junior in college now. But when I was in 8th grade, I was diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumor.
Okay.
Which was kind of a big one for an 8th grader, you know?
I would say so.
And I don't know. I just feel like it's recently come to a head. Because back then, I guess I didn't really get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was just a passing thing because you were so young. I guess I was too young to really grasp the fact that I had something pretty bad in my big old brain. And
right.
I don't know. It's been hitting me kind of hard just because it has become such a roadblock for me in life, and it has become a bigger roadblock than I thought it would be, I guess. I wanted to be a pilot as a kid, and that was kind of my whole thing, setting out to be a pilot for forever, I guess. But I went and I got a flight physical, and my flight surgeon, we went through the whole physical and everything. He was like, "Look, man," and this wasn't the first time I'd heard this, because I mean it's pretty common sense that if you have something wacky going on in your brain, it might be not the best idea for you to fly planes. But I when I got this flight physical, and it hit a lot harder hearing it from him that he was like, the FAA is going to want to know everything there is to know about what you got going on in your head, and
Right.
chances are pretty slim. And that was, I don't know, that was a very big kind of eye opener.
Yeah. So how has?
And,
Sorry, it sounded like you were going to say something.
no, you're good.
So it sounds like you're still dealing with the brain tumor. I would imagine that's because it's inoperable. So what's the uh, you know it seems like this is changing the life plan you had set in place. So what's the trajectory look like for you now? What do you? How has this felt navigating this, and uh, what kind of changes have you had to make to your plans for your life? I mean, you're in college, you're in your junior year, um, you know, but you got this diagnosis in 8th grade, so you've had some time to kind of plan ahead for it. And I'm wondering what that's felt like for you, uh, what kinds of changes you've made, and how you're feeling. And that's a lot, so we can just start there.
Yeah. I guess I was a little too optimistic when I was a little younger, thinking, oh, who knows, maybe this won't be a big deal. But it kind of is, especially for the path that I had laid out. And going from 8th grade on all the way through high school, that was kind of my, well, for a long time we didn't know it was a brain tumor. It was just a mass, and I got tons of MRIs as a kid and all this stuff. And finally, my neurosurgeon was just like, "Look, man, this is an inoperable brain tumor, and it is situated partially on the hippocampus and partially on your brainstem. So if it decides to go wacky, uh, it could just be pretty much the end, right?" And I guess it just didn't hit me. It didn't hit me right as a kid because I was just like, oh well, I'm a kid, I'll live forever, you know.
Right.
But I guess now with it genuinely changing so much for me, I'm realizing, I'm like, wow, so this is really the hand I've been dealt, and I gotta do this. And so I'm in college right now, but I have literally no idea what I'm doing. I For so long I wanted to be a pilot. That was pretty much the end goal. That's like the one thing I genuinely love as a kid, and I just and when that was taken from me, I felt a little lost. I was like 100% lost. A little is the wrong word. um,
Right.
but I scrambled for a while, and I feel like I'm still scrambling. I'm floundering because I'm in college, and I know a lot of people change their major in college, but I've been changing my major since, like, what is 10th grade high school? Sophomore? Yeah, sophomore year of high school.
I think that's
And
right.
so I've just been jumping back and forth because I can't find anything that I really love. I really am gung ho about. So right now I'm in college for law. I'm going to law school, and
Okay.
who knows if that's the right jump. But I don't know. And it's weird because I've always been like adventurous, and that's like what the whole pilot thing was. And now that I can't fly, I still have this like residual sense of adventure and want to like do something with my life, but I'm turning to less surface level successful alternatives. Like, I'm in the mindset right now that I just want to go walk around for the rest of my life and see it all before my brain explodes, you know. And but the other half of me is like, no, get a 401k or else, you know. I just I don't know. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, what else is it going to do? Because I wanted to be in the military as well, but that wasn't as big a deal for me. And they really don't like brain tumors either. But
Right.
so I've heard quite a few no's from them, and that's okay. I don't really want to be in the next World War.
Right.
Um,
Is the law school interesting to you? Is it, I mean, is it, I sent you, you've talked a lot about wanting adventure in life. You've talked a lot about uh, the fact that you've known you always wanted to do this. You've always wanted to be a pilot. So I'm not trying to diminish that. I'm also, I guess, acknowledging that, life is chaotic, and we often get served things that don't make sense or are surprises, or uh, we get dealt a hand of cards we weren't expecting, and there can be beauty in that. Life is full of twists and turns that we weren't expecting, so that's part of what makes life beautiful. And of course, it's not discounting that you're suffering from a brain tumor. I'm not discounting that. But you've chosen law school. And so I guess I'm asking, how does it feel studying law? Is it scratching some itch that you have for adventure? I mean, law is certainly an adventurous and enterprising pursuit. To be proficient in law is, I mean, if you're a good lawyer, if you're an objectively good lawyer, I mean, the world needs more good lawyers in the same way that we need more good journalists. I would say if there were two industries where we're in danger of running out of good entrepreneurs and free thinkers, it's the industries of law and journalism. And I'm wondering if law scratches that itch for you of adventure, or how you got into law, why you chose that. I mean, I guess essentially I'm asking, does it feel like a compromise studying law, or is there something exciting about it to you that you can pour yourself into and become excited about over time? Of course, it sounds like it's going to be some kind of adjustment because you spent a good portion of your life expecting to become a pilot, and it doesn't seem like that's going to be in the cards for you, at least immediately. So there's a couple questions there. I can clarify if you want. I know that was a decent amount of thinking out loud I just did.
yeah, it's cool. As far as law scratching this itch, not at all.
Hmm.
Which is, that's not a bad thing, but it's not like I could see myself getting to the point where I'm, like you said, pouring myself into it and being gung ho about it. But as of right now, not really. I like the idea of helping people, um, and like helping people in the courtroom, or helping. I don't really want to be a corporate lawyer. I don't want to be writing contracts all day. Um, but I could see myself help average people, fight the system, and I could see myself being that eventually, but not right now. Definitely not right now. I I'm gonna be real honest with you. I'm I like the idea of the paycheck because I want to buy a sailboat and just sail around the world and die. And I don't mean and die as in like just go off and die. I mean I want to see it. I want to see what I can see because I love to travel. I love doing all this, and I just want to make my small fortune and then see as much of the world as I can see, and I'll be content. And I think that's where I am right now, at least. And that can change and develop, but I I want to hike everywhere. I want to sail everywhere. I want to see all this stuff before this brain tumor eventually catches up with me. And sorry, give me one second. My sister's knocking at the door. I'll be right back.
Okay. We're holding here for the caller.
I did not mean to postpone anything.
No, it's okay.
But yeah, I would love to be. I haven't seen Better Call Saul, but I'm just gonna say I'd love to be the next Saul Goodman. That kind
There
of
you
thing.
go. Yeah, okay.
Be regarded, but you know, I don't know if that's in the cards either.
Well, could it be that you are an adventurous soul and you've always had that in you and you thought that you would be paid to go on adventures, and instead you'll get to spend your free time adventuring?
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then is there beauty that you can work towards in your perception of acknowledging that, like, I'll put it this way, like if you were, even if you got exactly what you thought you wanted, or exactly what you wanted in being a pilot for a living, for sure you would get to go see a lot of cool places, but you wouldn't be on your own time, and you wouldn't really be free to see all the things you wanted to see. You'd be on someone else's clock. I'm exploring silver linings here with you. I'm not looking to diminish the fact that you're suffering from a brain tumor. That's heavy, of course. You've called in tonight. I'm assuming you're calling in because a lot of people call in looking for some kind of new perspective or silver lining, and that's what we try to help people find here. And, I know a lot of pilots that fly for a living, and they aren't on their own time. They go where they're told to go, and they come back when they're told to come back, and they get to see some things, yes, but they're not really going to the places they want to go, and they might get to go to a few places that they want to go because they're going to so many different places, but they're still not on their own time, and they still don't get to go to the exact locations that they're dreaming of because they're on someone else's clock. And I wonder for you if there's some possibility that this might be some kind of, there might be some freedom in the idea that you can, like you said, build up your own nest egg, become self-sufficient in some other trade, and actually be free to adventure the way that you want to adventure. You mentioned getting on a sailboat and just sailing around. I mean, you would be on your own time. When you have that time to go sail, you would be sailing on your own time, and you'd go exactly where you want to go. And I wonder if there's any hope for you or any excitement for you in the idea that you might be able to, there might be some freedom in that wouldn't come with a pilot's license. Yeah, I guess that's the thought.
Yeah, I can get behind that silver lining, as you put. I can see how it might be a little nicer to do what you want to do on your time as opposed to flying where other people tell you to fly. But it's just, I don't know. Recently, it's definitely rocked the boat in my head, even though this has been like a developing thing. I realize I'm a quarter of the way through my life, and I'm thinking, am I going to get the other 3/4? Do I want to wait for this lawyer gig to make the money to do the thing, or do I want to find an actual passion? And I don't know.
Well, you mentioned
Death has become a very big,
yeah,
a very, very prominent player recently for me.
yeah. That's understandable. Very relatable. I would say you've chosen an excellent field in terms of potential for capital and law. If you become a good lawyer, and when I say good, I don't mean like the best lawyers. Are the lawyers that are not just good lawyers, but they're ethical lawyers that actually fight for justice, not just fighting for making a dollar here and there. There's those kinds of lawyers, the kinds that just fight for a dollar here and there. Those kinds of lawyers are a dime a dozen. But the kinds of lawyers that actually fight for ethical justice and don't just take on any kind of case, the world needs more of those. In the same way that we need better journalists. We had a caller call in recently, wrestling with. They were in college, and they had been studying journalism, and they were trying to figure out if they really wanted to study journalism, because they were kind of torn between that and entertainment, the entertainment industry, being an entertainment writer versus a journalist. And this call is not exactly the same because you're dealing with a brain tumor, but you are dealing with some kind of, you're at this crossroads where you're like, is this really what I want to be studying? Is this really what's going to get me to the place? Is this really what's going to get me to the place in life where I can go on the adventures I want to go on? And I can't answer that for you, of course. I don't know. However, you mentioned you're a junior in college, so that leads me to believe that you're pretty far along in law school, and that you've been at least successful up to this point. How are you doing in law school? Are you enjoying it? Are you getting good grades? Is it seeming like you're gonna get to a place where you can pass the bar and all that stuff? Because if the answer to any of those is yes, then I mean, it may or might be silly to start over on a totally new path when you've already selected this great path that has led you to your junior year in college, as studying to become a lawyer, where you're in a world where we need better lawyers. And if you're pursuing that with the right heart, then you're going to be in a great place to set yourself up for all kinds of adventures that you actually want to go on, not just adventures that you're being assigned to go on. I'm not sure if the dots I'm trying to connect are connecting for you.
Yeah. They definitely are. I'll say, since I'm an undergraduate, I am doing pre-law, but this is my junior year into pre-law.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I graduate with a bachelor's, you go into full-blown law school.
Mm-hmm.
And but I see what you're talking about. I like the idea of it. It's just, I don't know why I have like this mental block that's like the premonition of becoming a lawyer as opposed to where I'm at now. It's like, the idea of someone who is so religious that they decide they will never do anything for the rest of their life because they're just going to go to heaven anyways.
Right. Yeah, I get the point.
I don't want to. I just feel like I'm finding myself in that rut with every path that I think about choosing, even all the way up to this point, the path that I have chosen. I can't help but think I'm doing this, and there's a really high chance that my head's just going to stop working. And it's like, why should I be doing anything? But then the other side of the coin is you should do something because you gotta, because you're right. Your head just might stop working. And I don't know, it's something I find myself constantly coming back to and having such a hard time getting around.
Yeah. Well, one day all of our heads are going to stop working. Of course, none of us know when that's going to be. Of course, I'm still not discounting the fact that you have a brain tumor. It's even, it may even be more meaningful to you with that experience. I couldn't say, I don't know. But, the point being that there is, there's an ancient Chinese saying that we're all born with a certain amount of breaths in our bodies. And each breath we take is one breath closer to our death. And it's kind of a simplistic philosophy, of course, because, it's a little bit mystical and whatnot. But the idea is true that, like, we don't know. We don't know when our last breath is. None of us do. I mean, any of us here could walk out of the room we're in tonight, go on a walk, and get hit by a bus. So, what we do with every waking second matters. And that includes not just what we're doing for our communities, for work, the problems that we're devoting our lives to solving, but also how we're enriching our own lives. Because you can't just, life can't just be about solving problems. That's an Elon Musk quote that I love. Say what you want about Elon Musk. I don't love everything he says, but that's one quote I really like that he says is just like, life can't just be about solving problems. We have to find some sort of enrichment and, some sense of satisfaction and love that gets us out of bed in the morning, because problems don't get people out of bed. Problems, in fact, if problems get bad enough, problems keep people in bed. That's what the stuff that severe depression is made of. It's really serious. The point being that we all need something. We all need something that encourages us and motivates us to solve problems, because if we don't have that, then life is just problematic. And what's the point? There's a balance of problem solving and gratification that is, it creates this system that makes the world go round. And we need to have both. We need to both have a sense of purpose and contribution to our communities, and also some sense of self-satisfaction and love that keeps us going through the problems. And I'm not here saying that law school is what you got to do. There's no way I could know that. I guess I'm asking, what drew you to law? There's clearly a reason that you got into law, and you're here in your junior year there in law school. That's a pretty impressive length of time to commit yourself to law school. A lot of people drop out of law school and choose something not so time-consuming and strenuous as law school. So the fact that you've made it here is kind of telling to me that not only are you intelligent and capable and determined, but you're also, you know what you want out of life. And there is something adventurous about law that is similar to the adventure of travel, because to study law is to not just study the laws that already exist. Law is adventurous because there's going to be plenty of cases in any lawyer's career where they have to embark on an adventure to make sense of a case, or there's some uncharted territory of there's all these gray areas in law. I don't have to point to any one specific viral case that's been popular in the last couple of years. I'm sure everybody's already thinking of a couple. Law is adventure, and it's a similar kind of adventure to the adventures you'd be on as a pilot. And you're not on your own time when you work. If you were a pilot, you'd be on the time of your passengers. And as a lawyer, you'll be on adventures that your clients need you to go on. And it doesn't mean you can't see the world. It doesn't. In fact, maybe you'll be able to see more of precisely what you wanted to see in the world by not being a pilot. Because, I can tell you, I stare at screens all day. because of the line of work I'm in. And the last thing I want to do at the end of the night is watch TV or a movie. It's the last thing I want to do is turn something on and watch it. And that puts me kind of out of touch with pop culture because, and I'm not trying to make this about me. I'm just trying to draw a comparison to make the point that when you do something for work, it's the last thing you want to do in your free time. So there may be some kind of blessing in disguise here, or some kind of silver lining that you might be able to actually see more of the things you wanted to see in your lifetime by digging into something that is not the thing you thought you were setting out to do with your life. Because even if you got to be a pilot, I think I've already made the point like a dozen times, and we keep coming back to it. But I believe it's true that there's, life deals us cards that we don't expect. I mean, we all have to go through that to some extent. And in your case, it's traumatic because you've got a brain tumor. And I can't imagine what that's like. I've been talking for a while. I'm wondering where your head's at.
I'm feeling it. I'm getting into that headspace.
Okay.
I'm kind of digging my way out of that ditch I was telling you about.
Okay.
And I can see that. I could see myself doing that. For so long, regardless of whether or not I was doing it for me or for a company, piloting was the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like not even going to destinations, just being in the air.
Right.
I always thought that was the target, and I'm kind of pulling myself out of the headspace that maybe this is the way forward. I don't have to be behind a stick to get to where I'm going.
Right. Yeah. And I kind of abandoned a point there I was trying to make when I realized I was talking about my own experience. I kind of jumped off this point really quickly. But the point I was trying to make with like when I was talking about the last thing I want to do when at the end of the day is to sit down and watch TV or a movie because I'm staring at screens all day. The point I was trying to make is like maybe if you got that pilot's license that you thought you were after, maybe you'd go to all these places that you always wanted to go to, but you wouldn't have the time to actually go to the precise destinations at those locations that you wanted to see. Yeah, you might get to go to Iceland or something like that, or you might get to go to Ireland or something cool, but you might not get to go see Newgrange, or you might not get to go see, the shores where the Ichthyostega was first discovered. You might get to go to all these places and not actually get to see the things you actually wanted to see. And if you had that pilot's license, how likely would you be to go back to those places that you wanted to see on your free time if that's how you're spending your 9 to 5 every day, all day? How likely are you to go back to Ireland and see Newgrange on your own time if you've already been to Ireland on someone else's time? I don't know if that makes sense, but that's the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, I don't, you just don't want to get burnt out of it.
Right. Yeah. So I'm glad to hear that you're beginning to see this in a new way. Of course, it's not going to be a fast process if you've been thinking about this since high school. And I'm not trying to oversimplify this or make this seem easier than it is. You called in for a reason, and I'm hoping this is a beneficial call. I wonder if there's anything else on your mind that we haven't gotten to, and how you're feeling about all this.
I appreciate the new perspectives. It means a lot. I think it's kind of hard sitting in a vacuum and just listening to yourself think for a long time, uh, and only hearing that echo, kind of hard to open your eyes. And I appreciate the new perspective, and I appreciate what you've said tonight. Um, I
Beautiful.
think I think I'm at a spot where I just need to dedicate myself to the path that I'm on, um, and hope it gets me where I want to go.
Literally, where you want to go. Physically.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great challenge you have. It's a problem that has to be solved, and life is at least 50% about problems, because we wake up every day and have things we have to do. We get hungry, we have to eat. We haven't called our friends or family in a while, we have to call those people to maintain those relationships. Our house has a leaky roof, we got to fix it. We have to pay our mortgage, we have to pay our rent, we have to pay our car bill, or whatever it is. Like, all these things are problems that we have to solve every day. And you've got a unique challenge in that you're trying to see your life trajectory in a new way, given the unique challenges you've been dealt by life. And you seem like a really quick thinker. You seem like a really open-minded, flexible individual. And I think these things are beautiful qualities in a person. And I'm just inspired by the outlook you have on life. I fully believe that kind of outlook is going to take you far. And I'm wishing you the best on your journey. And I have no doubt you'll get to see the places you wanted to see in the world. It might not be a direct flight, to make a joke of it. It might not be a direct flight to that destination. You might have to do some things for work that you didn't initially set out to do, but those things can be full of beautiful surprises and realizations and value that can serve you in life. And very few people's lives, if anyone's life, goes exactly the way they want it to go. In fact, I'm reminded of a book. I want to recommend a book to you that I'm not sure we've talked about on this stream before. Everybody's going to laugh when I say this. The book by Matthew McConaughey called Green Lights. Are you familiar with this book?
I have heard of it, but I don't know anything about it.
Great book. Say what you will about Matthew McConaughey. He's had some cheesy movies. He's had some amazing movies too. But this book, Green Lights, is all about the setbacks in life and how a lot of people see them as like dead ends, but he calls them green lights. He calls them opportunities for this new story to develop. It's a memoir. It's his memoir of his life. That guy has had such a fascinating life, full of unbelievable, he's obviously very wealthy now and very successful, but his life was crazy. Highly recommend you check out the book Green Lights. I'm going to put it in the chat for you here. Give me a second to find it on Goodreads. Great book. He reads the audiobook too. I personally haven't read it. I just listened to the audiobook because it wasn't like a science book or anything. Great book to listen to because it's his voice. Amazing book. I really like that book. And I think it's applicable here because he calls it Green Lights because it's about setbacks and opportunity. I'm going to put this in the chat for you so you can revisit it later.
Very cool. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed it like I did.
I am a Matthew McConaughey fan. I'll probably look it up. I'll definitely get it.
Great.
Sorry. You guys.
No, that was it. I'm just typing this out for you. Probably full of typos because I'm typing so fast, but here it is. It's in the chat for you. Oh, I put there was definitely a typo. I didn't even include the link. It was stand by. I'm gonna get it there for you. That was hilarious what I just put in the chat. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so there's 2 separate chats I put in there for you, but they're both they're gonna take you to the book.
Awesome.
My friend, I'm so glad you called in. Wishing you the best. Hoping for a great update from you. Best of luck in law school, and call back again anytime.
Thank you so much, Julian. Okay. Good.
Thank you. Take care. Good night. Okay. Opening up the phone lines again. Seeing a chat from Charles Mahler, Dave Grohl's book. I have not read that one. I'll have to check that out. Is it similar to Green Lights? Similar kind of thing? I'm going to make a note to check that out. I love Dave Grohl. Okay, I've made a note of that. And we're going to take our next caller. Hello, thanks for calling.
Hi.
Hello.
Sorry. This is my first time calling in. I am a recently graduated person from an arts college, and I guess I'm struggling with identity and just trying to decide if I want to sell myself as a product or just be a tool.
Yeah. Well, I'll say right out of the gate that we don't give career advice here or relationship advice because we care too much about your life, and I don't know you. I don't want to mess up your life, but happy to hear a bit about your story and spitball with you a little bit.
Of course. I have been someone to often play the role of wanting to be liked, and I think that in itself has kind of led me into a rut where I feel pressure to make things to be seen instead of making things that make me feel good. And I guess I wanted to know some of your personal advice as a creative person. Like, how have you pushed through those feelings before, if you've felt that, and if you've maybe known anyone that's felt that way?
That's a great question. I hope this is. I think it's a relatable question to all kinds of people. Glad you called in. I would say that there's a third option that I think is much more potent, and it's the option of instead of making things to be seen or making things to be, what was the other thing you said? Being seen versus not being liked. That was the thing you said first. Being seen versus being, what was the other thing? There were 2 polls there. There were 2 options. Do you remember? I don't.
No, I don't remember.
It's okay. Well, there's a third option to whatever that was. Anybody in the replay they'll be pumping it in the chat for us. There's a third option, and it's being useful. It's being a problem solver. Things that we make as creative people solve problems. I think this is something a lot of creative people overlook. Anything that we make stands to solve a problem. Any song we write solves any of the famous, most famous songs in the world. They solve a problem. Any of the most famous TV shows or movies, they solve a problem. They answer a question, or they pose a good question. These are problems that they stand to solve. And I think a lot of creative people overlook that we can make things to solve problems. I think the common thought is that we make things to be recognized, or we make things to be seen, or to make money. I hear a lot of people. In fact, I have some people who I know. They'll go nameless here, but they've asked me before, like, or they've posed the question, not to me, but just in conversation, like, yeah, I just want to make a bunch of money. And, I kind of respond gently with like, well, how do you expect to make that money? Or how do you expect to be seen? Or how do you expect to be recognized for what you're doing? It has to solve a problem. That is to say, there has to be a reason people are inclined to consume the thing you're making. And we make things in life, whether it's a piece of content or a tool or a resource, anything for sale on Amazon, anything for sale at Burger King or In-N-Out or Chick-fil-A. It's a product that stands to solve a problem. And I think that's something that a lot of people in the service industry get. I think it's a lot of people in the manufacturing industry get that. But for some reason, a lot of creative people overlook that. I'm wondering if that's something you've considered.
I don't think I have considered that, which I think is pretty important in my next step in life. Can I ask you one more question?
Yeah.
Does problem solving ever become something that can take away from like quality of life, happiness, like maybe looking too far into problem solving, getting consumed with it? Like,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last caller, I'm not sure if you heard this part of the conversation, but the last caller and I talked a bit about this. I referenced Elon Musk. He has a great quote on problems. Of course, Elon Musk is really controversial right now, so I'm not looking to, Elon Musk didn't hang the moon. He's been there a few times. Oh, God, that's a great joke. Where's my soundboard? There we go. He's been there a few times. He didn't hang the moon. But he has a great quote about this where he says, problems, life has to be about more than solving problems. And I believe that to be true because problems don't get people out of bed. Now we're not quoting Elon Musk. Now we're just talking about it. But problems don't get people out of bed. Problems keep people in bed if they become too big. And I think this is why Elon is so big on this idea that, and he's not the only one to say this. He's just probably the most recent or prolific person to say this. But, whatever you make of the guy, he deals with a lot of problems, like a lot of them. I mean, he runs how many companies and like they're trying to do what? Like the guy deals with so many problems. And he is very big on this idea that life can't just be about solving problems. There has to be some kind of magic or love or romance that gets us out of bed, something that excites us. And I think this is what we do in our free time. I think these are the things that we work towards from 9 to 5, if you will. In other words, from 9 to 5, we devote our lives to solving problems. And it's what we do outside those hours that keeps us going. And of course, not everybody works 9 to 5. Some people work night shifts. Some people are, they work for themselves or they have odd hours. But the point is that for a certain amount of time every day, you're solving problems that benefit the world and your community. And with the rest of your time, you devote that time to things that fill you up and actually make the problem solving worth it. If you're just solving problems all the time, you probably, sometimes I wonder if this is what happened to Nietzsche. Nietzsche is a philosopher and a writer that I really admire, but the way his life ended was so tragic and sudden. I feel like the guy just didn't know what he enjoyed, and he was so brilliant, and he wrote so many things that people still are discussing and trying to come to terms with and understand. He was so ahead of his time, but he and I don't claim to know the guy or what his life was like, but he just seemed to have this really difficult life, and I wonder. I'm not claiming anything. I've wondered so many times if Nietzsche actually enjoyed his life, if he actually knew what he enjoyed. And I think that's really important, especially if you're a creative person. Nietzsche was clearly a creative thinker. And if you're a creative person, it's kind of, your brain works a little bit differently than a lot of other people's because you kind of have to be intentional with your free time to fill it up with things that actually pay you back. emotionally and physically? It's a great question. Man, we could talk about this all night.
Yeah, I would love to, but you got bigger and better things to get to.
Not necessarily. We can keep going if you want. We haven't even been talking 10 minutes. What's on your mind? You want to keep going, or was that it? We can hang up now if you want, but we can keep going if you want.
I'm a nervous person, Julian. It's really cool to even just get the connection to speak with you. You really inspired me through the years.
I appreciate it.
I will go. I'm too nervous to continue, but hey, maybe I'll call back another time and we can keep talking.
All right. Well, I hope you got something to run a little bit with, and feel free to call again anytime.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Have a great night.
Thank you. Take care. Okay. Man, the trolls are rampant in the chat tonight. They're going crazy. I think that's some kind of bot. It must be. It's relentless. Look at that thing go. I'm actually impressed. I'm more impressed by the mods. We got humans versus bots, and we're on top of it. Way to go, mods. Looks like Offcore is owning that bot. Offcore. I'm very impressed. That thing's giving you a run for your money. Man versus machine. Okay. We're having a bit of a slower night tonight. Phone lines are open. I believe they are. Sometimes this phone system is a little glitchy. We'll just hang out here for a second. I do want to show off this. I'm not sure if I've shown this laugh on the soundboard while we're waiting for the next caller. I've not had a good opportunity to show this laugh yet, this laugh sound. And there probably will never be an opportunity where this is appropriate, but just check out this laugh sound that's been waiting for months for me to use it. There's never a good time to use this, so here we go. Unreal. Sounds like Alan Watts. I love that sound. There's never a good time for an evil laugh at the Anonymous live stream. We're just, we try to keep it too chill, but it was preloaded. It's been in there for months. So who knows if I'll ever get to use it. All right. For those who are just joining, welcome. We're sitting here taking calls for the next, now the next hour and 5 minutes. We do this 3 times a week for 2 hours. We're having a little bit of a slow night tonight, but we've had 2 callers, and this is a place where we just listen and talk about whatever you want. We give you anonymity, and there's no judgment here. We don't get ideological or philosophical. We just listen. The chat will chime in with some thoughts that you can review in the replay. And you and I will have a conversation if you call in. And we just, we do this 3 times a week on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. It's kind of it's admittedly kind of crazy because it's not entertainment. It's not entertaining, but we always have good conversations, and we just try to be there for people no matter what they're going through. We have all kinds of people calling in. Some of the more notable calls I can think of off the top of my head while I'm just waiting here for the next call. We had a call a couple weeks ago from a guy who was raised as a child soldier. He was trained with weapons starting at the age of 8. We have people calling with all kind of ailments and sicknesses, people going through deconstruction of different kinds. And we just listen, and we ask only that you remain anonymous, that you don't give up your name or your location or the names of others that might be involved in your story. If you do that, we toast you. It sounds like this. Only you don't hear anything because I just hang up. And we do that for your own good. And now some calls are coming in, so we're going to get back to the calls. Hi, thanks for calling.
Hi, this is my first time calling, but I really just want to get something off of my chest here. I'm 21 years old now, and I dropped out of high school when I was in, sophomore year. And so because of that, and also I have personal issues that I won't go into, but because of that, I just feel emotionally stunted and I'm not quite mentally, but I do feel like I am behind others that are my age, and it's very isolating, and just there's not a lot of people that I can talk to about this in my life, because not a lot of people that I know have gone through this. So I don't know, I guess I'm just wondering if anyone, listening or watching might have any advice on, what I should do, or if I could, try to get myself out there, meet new people. I'm not quite sure, but just to make me feel like I'm not an adult stuck in a teenager's body.
I see. Chat, if you have any thoughts on that, feel free to put them in the chat for the caller to review later. Meanwhile, I'm going to just explore this a little bit more. So I'll start by saying to you, the caller, that you're at an age where this transition is it's natural. Like you're in your early 20s. You're coming into your own as an adult. That's something that takes time. This is kind of a spoiler alert to anyone in their early 20s. Like your 20s are spent with this exact problem the caller is calling in about. It's very normal and healthy for this is what your 20s are about. And with that being said, I want to hear more about. Can you go into a bit more detail, maybe some backstory, maybe tell us how you grew up and where you are now, and we'll have a conversation.
Yeah, sure. So basically, I had a relatively normal growing up in a nice neighborhood, nice schools, everything, great. But I had some issues in my family that started to come up when I went through puberty, which is not great. But so I kind of started when I was 11 years old, having just deep depression and anxiety, and also having undiagnosed ADHD, which made school incredibly hard for me as the older I got. And just also I had a lot of issues with my identity because I am part of the LGBT community, and I had struggled with that for a long time as well. And growing up in this kind of community that's very predominantly white, very religious.
Can I slow you down? Can I slow you down a little bit to understand better?
Oh, yes, of course.
This is all great context, but I'll probably pause a couple times to better understand. You mentioned you're in the LGBTQ community. Can you tell us how you identify or what your orientation is, or however that looks?
Oh, yes, of course. I am a lesbian. I also identify as non-binary, so I use they, them pronouns also. But this took a very long time for me to come to that conclusion.
Naturally.
So it's really affected me throughout high school.
Great. And then I derailed you. You were talking about you're in the LGBTQ community, and I'm not sure where that puts you in your story, but I kind of paused you there.
Oh, no, it's all good. So I just struggled a lot with relating to my peers, and also my family. We're all good now, but my mother did struggle a little bit with accepting me at first, which also just, there was just a lot of things going on in my life around that time that just made schooling and socializing with other people very hard for me, and also just, I had become so depressed that I physically could not get out of bed to go to school anymore.
Mm. Couldn't get out of bed. So if I can just relate that back to the last couple callers, that's what we're talking about when we say there's problems. Your life just you can't simply be about problems, because problems don't get you out of bed. If the problems become big enough, they keep you in bed. That's been a recurring theme on the last couple calls. So to this caller, like, that's what we're talking about when we say that. I'm really sorry to hear that you went through that. That's a very serious struggle that a lot of people go through. Are you still struggling with that to get out of bed in the morning? Or have you grown past that? And I sense we're working towards the reason for the call.
Well, yes, I have definitely improved. The older I've gotten and medications that I've been taking, I do still struggle with it sometimes, and it's kind of intertwined with this feeling that I have of just not going anywhere in my life right now, really, but which I understand, of course, is normal for someone my age, but it's just, I just don't have the same experiences that a lot of other people have had, and so it makes me feel just very isolated.
Could it be that you don't have friends that are open-minded, or is it, do you sense it's something about your personal experience that makes you feel alienated? I guess we'll start there.
Yes, it's definitely, I definitely have friends, but they are, I have a few close friends that do not live close to me. It is more like with my own personal experiences that I will be talking with my friends and they will mention things that they did or people they knew in high school that I should have known because I went to school with them but never did, and so I do feel a little bit like left out of these kinds of conversations, and also just, I just kind of feel stuck in my life right now.
LML 101, I think that's the screen name, in the chat says to you, how does your family support you in this, caller? Are they homophobic or put you down?
No, actually, I'm grateful. I do not have to deal with any negativity from my family anymore. We've all my family was never like homophobic towards me, but we did grow up very religious, so there was some issues around my gender identity, but we have gotten past that now. But I don't know. It's just, I just don't find a lot of people that can relate to my situation, which is just, I don't know.
Don't tell us where you are, but are you in a city where this is generally accepted, or are you in a more old-fashioned place where your community is not generally open to these kinds of lifestyles or identities?
I did grow up near the city, but I was in the suburbs, so where a lot of religious people live. And so I did have some issues with that just as I grew up, and also when I was going through my crisis, I guess I'll put it.
Right. Well, you're in a time of life where these kinds of things are, I'm not going to say normal, because you're going through a minority experience to an extent as a member of the LGBTQ community, of course. So depending on where you live, and please don't tell us where you live, depending on where you live, that can be a much bigger uphill battle than if you lived in a more progressive place. But I do want to reiterate that, your 20s are spent solving this problem of finding out who your true friends are. You leave high school. Many people leave their home state and go to different cities for college or different jobs. And it's a time of social upheaval because you're not only figuring out who you are as an adult, but you're figuring out who your true friends are. It's really easy to be friends with people in high school because when you're in high school, your community kind of comes to you. And you know, I was homeschooled, so I have had a very different high school experience, but it was pretty much the same thing for me in this regard, that your hometown is kind of your where you go to school depicts who your friends are. Where you live depicts who your friends are. You don't when you start high school, you don't have a driver's license. All of this is to say that your friends are your immediate surroundings. You don't get to it's kind of like, you know, they say you can pick your friends, but you can't pick your family. I'd say that's not really true until you're out of college. You can't really pick your friends until out of college, or you've got a job, and then you're really picking your friends, because you're picking where you live, and you're picking where you work, and your scrutiny for friendship becomes a lot more intense, because you've jumped through all these hoops, and you've understood, you've made an effort to understand who you are as an individual, and these kinds of things. I'm not trying to oversimplify where you are, again, because you're dealing with some specific things that people might not be able to relate with. If you're in the LGBTQ community, depending on where you live, people might not be able to relate to that. But as you get older, I do think these things will become easier, because you'll come into your own skin, and you won't really care so much about what people make of you. At least that's what I think is what people ought to aspire to. That's my opinion. That as we come into adulthood, adulthood is about, like, it's nothing personal that this person doesn't like me or doesn't understand me. It's nothing personal. I can handle that. I just won't have that person and I are not going to have a intimate relationship, because they just can't relate to me. It's as simple as that. But it's not to discount what you're experiencing, because it's real, and a lot of people go through that. And there may be people here that need to hear this in the chat too. That where you are in life is you are. I can sense you're very much in the middle of solving that problem, and you're coming into your own skin. You're learning to be comfortable in your own skin, and that will take time and patience and commitment to yourself, to stay true to yourself and not just conform to the social circles that are immediately available. And these are the things that maturity is made of, is being unapologetically yourself, not being a dick, not being like, an ass about it, but, being unapologetically you. And then your friends you'll attract friends like a magnet, the kind of friends you want. But it'll take time. And it doesn't matter if you're straight or gay or trans or anything. That's just how that's my opinion on how friendships work. It's how they ought to work. I mean, that's what relationship is. If two people can't relate, then they don't have a relationship. Simple as that.
Right.
So I'm curious, like, what has the experience been like? We've talked a bit about friendships kind of generically, or relationships kind of generically. And I'm wondering your experience as a lesbian, as a non-binary lesbian. Have you are you experiencing discrimination? Is there some element of that, or is it just that you haven't clicked with people yet? That's the question.
I would say there have definitely been in the past relationships that were affected. That is really unfortunate, because they were my best friend at the time, and now we hardly speak. But then also, I'm having a hard time finding people to connect with and relate to, really.
Yeah, that stuff's it's just gonna take time, I would say. Can I ask what you're studying in school?
I actually don't. I don't go to school.
Oh, okay. Um, okay. So, can I ask what you do for work or what you want to do?
Yes, actually, I'm
Don't tell
working
us where you
on
work if you can
becoming
avoid it.
I'm working on becoming a professional piercer. Um,
Okay.
so I've
Cool.
taken some classes on like first aid and things to prepare me for an apprenticeship. So waiting to hear back from some studios. So I have made some steps forward, but yeah, I guess I'm just not really. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I guess where my place is in the world right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I sense you're doing some important soul searching, and you're trying to figure out where you said it. What's your place in the world? You got to figure out what kinds of problems it is you want to solve. You said you want to be a professional piercer. That leads me to believe that you want to work with people on the problem you want to solve is self-expression. You want to work with people on self-expression. People get piercings when they want to express themselves in certain ways. That's no surprise to me hearing that as someone who's had the journey you have. I think that's beautiful. You're someone who has identified a specific path that you are, a specific personality and a specific orientation and a specific gender identity that is not the norm. And so it doesn't surprise me to hear that you want to work with people on self-expression. I wonder what that, I sense that maybe that's because you want to, you like the experience of sitting down there maybe with people in the chair. You like the idea of sitting down there with someone in the chair, hearing their story and why they're getting the piercing they're getting or whatever it is they're doing and what it means to them. Is that what draws you to it?
I mean, yes, truly. I think just the art of it also is so cool. But yes, I really am drawn to the idea that people come and yes, express themselves through their whatever art form they would like. And I have of course I have multiple facial piercings on my own, and I just think the idea of being able to give that service to someone else who is feeling out of place or just wants to be different or just think that it's cool, I really would like to be the person to help them with that because I didn't really have someone to help me.
Right. I see. Yeah. Maybe it's that you're so open-minded and such a free spirit, such a free thinker, that you don't see how you fit into the world because you're so flexible and you're so open-minded. The most open-minded free thinkers can find it really hard to fit into the boxes of the world. The world just wants to put you in a box. They want to smack a label on your forehead, tell you which box to sit in, and then they want to tell you not to leave that box ever. If you're a open-minded, free-thinking, spirit, then you might. This might be some kind of lifelong journey. In 10 years, maybe you're doing something totally different, but maybe there's this theme. Maybe your theme in life that you're slowly working towards discovering has something to do with challenging the molds of society and challenging the norms of culture. Maybe there's some theme there that you'll carry with you your whole life, and maybe that's why you've had a hard time relating to people around you in your community. People just want to, people want to go to college. They want to figure out what box they fit into, and then they want to just sit in that comfy box and never leave it. And there's no judgment on that. A lot of that is the most surefire way to retire and live a life that is organized and simple.
Right.
It's no judgment on that. But a lot of people aren't born with that kind of neurochemistry, and a lot of people are. That's the beauty of being a human. That's the beauty of life is life is diverse, and it's one of the challenges we have in every society is these boxes that we're forced to exist in. It's not so simple. I mean, it's good that we have some boxes. It's good that we're not all forced to do the same damn thing all day long. We're not all forced to just exist in one box. It's good that we have some options of boxes, but it's also not a tragedy that some of us don't fit into those boxes. I mean, maybe you're meant to confront those. Maybe you're meant to create new boxes, and maybe that's your place in the world. I'm saying maybe. I don't know you, but you've called in, and I'm just trying to connect some dots that I've heard you point out here, and that's the common thread I've heard you talk about is, you're a minority, you represent minorities, you have a passion to help people express themselves, you have a hard time connecting with the peers that are immediately around you. You don't live in a massive city, a massive progressive city where you're immediately welcomed. It doesn't sound like you've experienced a ton of discrimination, but that's besides the point. I'd say you're fortunate for that last one. But I would say that, like, take those first three things that you have going for you. Those are three solid things you have going for you. And maybe just chew on that for a bit and contemplate what you want to spend the next 30, 40, 50 years of your life solving. You have to solve some problem. Maybe now it's helping people express themselves through piercings or tattoos or whatever it is. And maybe 10, 20 years from now, it's something totally different. But I just sense that you're this kind of challenger spirit, and that's beautiful. And don't question that. Lean into it. That's what I'd say.
Wow. Well, that's really great advice. I appreciate that. I don't think anyone's really put it that way before. Which kind of brings me to a new perspective. So, I mean, thank you.
Good. Glad to hear it. I'm glad you called in tonight. I enjoyed the conversation. I appreciate you sharing the way you shared. Is there anything else that you want to get off your chest or talk about?
No, I think I'm good. Thank you so much for listening.
Of course. Call again anytime. Take care.
Thanks. You too.
Good night. I got this new water pot where I can put my lemons and limes in, because I used to squeeze the lemons and limes into the cup, and this thing is leaking now. I've had it for like 2 weeks and it's already leaking. I'm going to have to return it and make a complaint. What is going on? It's getting all over my carpet. Goodness gracious. All right, next caller. Hi, thanks for calling.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, hello. I've prepared my thing to say, but it's cool that I got on the stream. How are you?
I'm well. How are you tonight?
I'm okay. It's actually 4:20 in the morning where I am.
Oh goodness.
So yeah, so it's very very early in the morning.
Oh, so you're probably overseas. I just want to give you a heads up. Your number was blocked. I couldn't see where in the world you were calling from. No, that's okay. I don't need to know. Allow me like 10 seconds to explain here. I don't keep track of phone numbers here, but I've been trying to keep track of who's calling internationally because we've had an issue with the international call system here. You might be getting charged for this call. So do you?
It's Skype, so it's fine.
Okay, great. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that we are having an issue we're trying to resolve with the international calls. So since you're on Skype, it's no issue. What's on your mind tonight?
Just kind of like regular sort of 20-something crap, basically, I broke up with my girlfriend for about a year, and for about 6 months we didn't talk really. It sort of fizzled out due to sort of my mental health rubbish, and in January sort of we started sort of texting a little bit, as kind of friendly conversations and everything, but we were still basically not together and stuff like that. And basically, like, it's just so silly because it's like basically my girlfriend slept with somebody else, right? But I also did like I sort of made out with somebody I was potentially going to get involved with somebody, but then I decided not to. At round about the same time, it was in February. Both of these things happened, and basically,
Can I ask who went first?
Sorry.
Sorry, I hate interrupting, but can I ask who went first? That was a lot you just unpacked there. Who was it? Who was you're talking about some infidelity, and I'm just curious who was first. And if it was retaliation,
sure.
if you guys knew about it if it was like retaliation that you both did it, or I'm just curious about that situation. I don't want to glaze over it.
I'm not really sure. It was mid-February, both of the times where basically like we both experimented with other people. But I think it's interesting that you call it infidelity, because I don't really consider it that, because we were talking, but we weren't being intimate. We weren't being it was more just catching up with what points in our lives we were in, and things like that, but it was still basically, I think there was still a kind of a hope for both of us, you know what I mean, because the relationship didn't fail due to some sort of messy argument or anything like that. It was me moving away, trying to like start a career for myself and everything, and I got super infatuated and obsessed because I've got OCD, you see, so I get and I've probably got something else, but like it just, you know, I get obsessed with a goal and everything, and then it all crumbled around me and everything. But basically, the reason why I'm calling is because we've gotten back together. I'm 2 weeks in. It's going really well. We're communicating really well, and things seem to be fine. But what's killing me is the fact that she basically she slept with somebody else for twice in the span of 2 weeks, and I didn't go so far as to sleep with anybody, but like logically, I'm fine with it. But emotionally, it hurts, and I feel bad for being so. It feels so inconsistent and just rough on me, and I want to get rid of the poisonous like sort of feelings in my head, because I know that this is the kind of thing that I ruminated over when we last went out, because we were good. It was fun. It was fine. It was just weird 20-something life stuff and me being just mentally ill and stupid caused us to fizzle out. But we were a good couple before that, and you know, I want to make sure that like me going into this relationship again, hopefully for the long term, things don't sort of get toxic and poisonous and everything. And you know, I don't want to dump all my insecurities on her. We've had some really long chats though, but since then. But yeah, that's pretty much the case.
I might want to rehash some of that. I can tell this is heavy on your mind. You're talking so fast. I'm having trouble keeping up.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm ADHD. Sorry.
You said, did you say earlier you suffer from OCD or ADHD?
Both. Basically, I've known I've had ADHD for a long time, and essentially, like, I'm not medicated for it, but basically, my ADHD mindset can make me susceptible to conditions like OCD, because I have basically, like, my mind is always bouncing around the walls like a ping pong ball, and that can sort of make you ruminate on things, and then I've developed over the past maybe 4 years a obsessive compulsive disorder. Do you know what I mean? And it just, you know, sometimes it's physical compulsions, but very rarely now it's mostly just mental compulsions, and it's just thinking it again and again.
I see. Okay, so my next question is, it seems like you guys were, you and your girlfriend were not officially exclusive for a while, and you were both kind of you were, fooling around with other people, hooking up with other people initially, and then it sounds like you guys became exclusive, and then she slept with 2 people while you were exclusive. Am I understanding that right?
No, that is wrong. No, that's wrong. That's
so set me straight.
Wrong. Yeah, no. It's actually, exactly, this is the illogical thing, isn't it? What I'm saying, we weren't exclusive. We were basically single, essentially. I think we made it both very clear that we were. And we both experimented at the same time without telling each other, obviously, because we were single. But us getting back together, we wanted to be honest with what's happened since. And we both were honest, and one of those things was that she slept with a guy and everything. And logically, it's like, yeah, it's fine, because I would have done that if I had the chance, you know. But I didn't. But it's fine. But emotionally, it feels just really emotionally. I can't stop thinking about it, and it's I don't know. I don't know. It hurts because I can tell that we both love each other really like a lot, and I know that we both had basically the plan to get back together. I think, but we just didn't want to say it. Um, but yeah,
Back
what
together.
am I even complaining about?
You said get back together. Were you with her previously, or do you just mean in the sense that you guys were dating kind of casually at first and now you're exclusive? I'm just trying to understand the situation. I'm not doubting you. I'm just trying to
Sorry,
understand.
I'm terrible at things. Basically,
No,
I
it's
met
okay.
her in
I'll get it out of
university
you.
4
I'm
years
very
ago.
thorough.
No problem, Julian. No problem. Yeah, we went out in university 4 years. Then after COVID, things got really hectic in my head and all that kind of stuff. Going stir crazy, cabin fever, all that kind of stuff. I was struggling to get a job, so it just basically I wanted to move down further south into the country to try and just kickstart my career. It
Be
didn't work
careful
out,
with location.
but during that time, it sort
I'm
of fizzled
interrupting here.
out.
I'm interrupting here. Be careful. You said
Sure,
move.
no problem.
I'm interrupting here. You mentioned down south of the country. Please no locations or names.
Of course.
Yeah, I don't know where you're which country you're talking about, but I just want to make sure you're not about to say where you live or anything.
Oh, of course. No, I won't be. No, don't worry. South's a big place. It's fine.
Yeah,
It could be anywhere.
You said country,
Fine.
and I was like, oh, that's a trick. I got triggered. That's my trigger
No,
word. If somebody says country and I get
Don't worry,
triggered,
it's my fault if I reveal my location. It's fine.
Exactly. I don't want to hang up on you. That's all. All right. So
No,
keep
that's
going.
fine.
So you guys were having some differences, and you were going to move somewhere else, and keep going.
Yeah, move somewhere else. I failed to get my career kick-started because I'm an animator and I wanted to finally get some sort of job, and it just killed all my self-esteem and all that kind of stuff. And I had already decided that things weren't going to work out because I wanted to move away, and it sort of fizzled out. So for about 6 months we weren't talking at all, but then after in January we started talking again, and it was kind of like just off and on conversation, but we never said like, oh, I love you and I want to get back together and all that. It was more sort of like she was more like sort of annoyed that like I was flailing so much like a seagull in tar, like because she wanted me to be succeeding, but things weren't going right, and I think she was really upset about that, but also at the same time she was annoyed because I hurt her in the process for something seemingly pointless, so it's complicated, but like I said, for those 6 months our relationship's been slowly getting back together, and 2 weeks ago we actually got back together. But like I said, in that 6 months that we were kind of talking, we both sort of fooled around with people. She's okay with it, apparently, that I did it. But for me, I find it emotionally rough on me.
I see.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. How old are you?
I'm 24.
Okay. Yeah. So first thing that's coming to mind is, of course, like I'm about to state a statistic, and statistics tend to get people riled up, of course. But on average, in a relationship between a male and a female, there's the males tend to get more protective over sex, and females tend to get more protective over emotions. In other words, there was this study done on infidelity, in both emotional infidelity and sexual infidelity, and the study showed that there was the women who found out that their male partner, had been sexually promiscuous, versus the women who found out their male partners were emotionally promiscuous. There was a huge discrepancy between the reactions. So women tend to become more upset if by a landslide if the man was emotionally cheating, and men tended to become, on the flip side of the coin, men tended to be much more upset if the female was sexually cheating. So that's one thing that's coming to mind right out of the gate, which explains a little bit of your situation. It doesn't explain the whole thing, but that is one thing that is again, that only covers people with, that only covers male and females, and it doesn't cover the full diverse range of human potential, of course. But, suffice to say, if you have a lot of testosterone, you're going to be upset if your partner cheats with you sexually. And if you have a lot of estrogen, you're going to be upset if your partner cheats emotionally. Suffice to say.
Well, that's sort of, that describes her reaction perfectly, because her reaction was sort of going, I didn't really get emotionally involved with anybody really. And she's like, it doesn't matter, and things like that. And you know what I mean by like, logically, I shouldn't have a problem with this because the standards were literally the same. We were allowed to experiment. We were allowed to do stuff like that because we weren't really exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
But emotionally doesn't match up with my logical brain, and that's just so rough. And I'm sure people are going to think, oh, I'm possessive or like of her or something like that. I don't feel possessive. I think it comes from a selfish place. I think it comes from a selfish place of wanting to be the only person that she'd be interested in. And in the end, I guess I was still the person that she was interested in, and her too. So I guess maybe this was a blessing in disguise, us looking if the grass was greener. But still, the idea with her with another guy for 2 weeks, and that's all it was, the 2 weeks getting sexually involved, makes me so, I can't describe it. It makes me feel ill, and I felt sick, like actually physically sick. And like I said, it sounds selfish, and it is selfish, but I don't feel possessive of somebody who I love like that, because it's so weird. It's like I said, the standards were the same, and my reaction's completely different. Yeah.
So I have a question that feel free to take as long as you want to answer this question, because this might be a loaded question. Sure. Does it feel soul crushing to you out of a place of jealousy, or would you call it some kind of impracticality? I can define that a bit more if you want.
Impracticality, can you explain?
So does it feel like, so I'm talking about, there's this psych research that's done on monogamy and why people get so protective of their partners. And there's kind of two elements of it. You've got, and they're not clearly distinct. So it's a little messy. What I'm talking about, admittedly, is a little messy. But essentially, the argument is that in evolutionary psychology, the argument is that, and I'm reporting the work of Jeffrey Miller, and he's a PhD psych. He wrote The Mating Mind in a book called Mate, and I'm failing to report correctly the study that I was talking about earlier. I can't remember who did that study we were talking about earlier. I can find that, and it won't be of any use to you after we hang up, of course. But now I'm talking about the work of Jeffrey Miller, and there's been some other psych scholars who've done research on jealousy and monogamy and what constitutes, like what lies beneath the drive for exclusivity in a relationship. And one of the common denominators is that it's impractical for people to tolerate their partners sleeping around, because if everyone's just sleeping around with each other, there's no agreement about that, then one partner might be stuck raising the child of someone else. Like, in other words, if your girlfriend is sleeping around with a dozen guys and then comes home and tells you, "Hey, I'm pregnant," how do you know it's yours? And that's like an evolutionary tendency that it evolved out of necessity as a way to prevent, because babies who were clearly not belonging to the father, for example, like that was a disadvantage, and babies in that situation tended not to survive. So in other words, jealousy evolved to prevent partners from sleeping around, and there's a whole book on this by what's the guy's name? David Buss wrote a book on this. Passion, The Dangerous Passion. David Buss. Let me put this in the chat for you. This is an amazing book. Do you know the work of David Buss?
I don't know. No,
Okay.
I don't.
Dangerous Passion. He's another F-Psych guy that's done work on this. Stand by. I'm giving you the Goodreads link. Okay. This is going in the chat for you. Stand by.
Thanks for this, by the way. I didn't think I'd get through. It's a bit surreal though. I've been watching you for years and just been.
Oh, I'm glad you called in.
That's what managed to get in.
That's why we're doing this. Yeah. So I just put it in the chat for you. You can review it in the chat later.
Thank you.
The Dangerous Passion.
Helpful.
It's called The Dangerous Passion: Why Jealousy is as Necessary as Love and Sex. And that book will go into much more. It'll do a much better job of describing what I can do here on a short call with you. So the best thing I can think to do is to recommend that. I'm also going to suggest you read as a follow-up book, The Mating Mind by Jeffrey Miller. Stand by. I'm putting that in there for you too. Where is it? Here we go. This is The Mating Mind: How Sexual Choice Shaped the Evolution of Human Nature. And these are books that get at what lies beneath, what constitutes a relationship, and why relationships have evolved to stand the way that they do.
And be so absolutely soul-crushing.
Yeah.
Just, damn you, curse you, evolution, for this.
Well, it's not. It's funny. It's a funny thought, of course. But this raises all kinds of your dilemma raises all kinds of questions. There's a lot of people that, and we've had a lot of people call in into this show who are polyamorous, for example. There's this whole movement of polyamory that is becoming more and more talked about over the last 30 years. Of course, it's not exclusive to the last 30 years. It's only just becoming popular. But a lot of people are very curious about this whole jealousy thing in light of modern technology. In a world where we can DNA test a child and literally tell whose kid it is. I mean, when this tendency evolved, we couldn't test things like that. So, we couldn't help but feel that way at the time. Whether you believe in Darwinian theory or not, at that time, when cavemen were a thing, like, we couldn't help but have that tendency to become jealous over the fact that, and it makes perfect sense. Like, why would we be jealous? It's not just that we want to, this kind of is what I was trying to break down earlier. There's kind of two sides of it, and it's admittedly messy, which is why I'm suggesting you just read the book, because we won't be able to get into detail on it here. But there's kind of two sides of it. On one hand, it's like, how do I know I'm raising my own kid? And then on the other hand, there's this other component of jealousy that's like, I want to be your everything. And it's kind of this, like, then you start getting into this kind of romanticism philosophy. And romanticism, if you live in the West, if you live in Western culture, don't tell us where you live, if you're white, suffice to say, then you get bogged down with a bunch of romanticism messaging through Disney movies, through fairy tales, through just the various tentacles of Western ideology. Romanticism is this thing that tells us, like, it's like I'm a romantic. I'm admittedly a romantic myself. But romanticism is this thing that is, it ends a lot of marriages. I'll put it that way, because people get into marriages and then they're like, oh, it just doesn't. After a few years, they're just like, it just doesn't feel the same way it used to feel. It doesn't. I'm not like, it doesn't feel the same.
It's interesting that you mentioned the whole romanticism thing, actually, because in fact, since we've gotten back together, it doesn't feel as romantic as it used to. But we've had like hours worth of talks now, and actually being honest, like really transparent, because she's really good at being transparent, and I actually in the past haven't been too good at being transparent, but we were really good for about for 2 weeks. This is what we've been doing, and I've been going around hers and talking, and all the uncomfortable stuff, that I'm, I'll say it to her and everything. And we're not arguing, we're just being transparent, and it's just been, it doesn't feel as romantic as it used to, but it feels more real because than it used to. And I hope, because I really love her, and I know everybody says that because, like you talk about evolutionary psychology, maybe maybe it's completely in my DNA just to do that. There's no such thing. I don't know, but truly, I get, it's not just me getting along with her. She just is so unboring. I find so many people so boring. She just gets me, and she's too, she's too good for me to not to try. Does that make sense? Because as they always say, relationships are work, I guess. So I feel kind of like I go, no, I want to actually, I don't want to take the lessons that I learned from how this relationship failed and use it on somebody else. I'd rather use it on her. That's basically that was basically my current thinking, but obviously my emotions are very similar.
So
my emotions are what I described to you, and everything. But yeah, I'll give that book a read. I'll give, honestly, because I am a bit of a, I do actually buy into sort of evolutionary psychology, because I think inherently we are animals, and I think there are so many things that are societally enforced and things like that, but there are also, I think, a large amount of things which are purely just in our DNA, and I think it's something that I've ran away from thinking about, I guess, but it is, we are victims of our own DNA, and until we can sort of edit it out with science-y machines or something like that, I feel like many of what we call the human experience is, is inevitable.
Now you're getting into eugenics. I don't know if I want to go there. You talking about editing genes?
Really?
Oh boy.
I don't mean.
I don't know that I want to change my genes. I'm fine with my genes. Thank you very much. My blue jeans are very fancy. I love my blue jeans. They're very comfortable. I had to make a joke because you're talking about eugenics, essentially. I don't think you were actually meant to talk about eugenics.
I didn't realize it was eugenics.
Basically.
Oh, no.
No, it's okay.
Bad.
You didn't offend anybody. I'm just making a joke. I want to highlight something from the chat.
If I offended the chat, I'm not a
No. Nobody's offended. I'm just making jokes. I'm making jokes to neutralize it. No offense taken. I don't even think anybody caught it, honestly. I couldn't resist a joke. Okay, so Aluwali Beanbringer says to you, if you put her on a pedestal, you will be disappointed. I feel like that's relevant. I wanted to just say that to you. I think it's true. I'm saying that because I'm sensing that this is not coming from a place. I posed the question to you: is this coming from a place of jealousy or impracticality? I would put it a different way now. I would say, would you call this coming from a place of inferiority or a place of gosh, I'm still struggling to find the words. Like you'll be taking on too much. That's like a horrible way to put it. But like I'm sensing that because of what you just said over the last minute and a half, I'm sensing that this is coming from a place of inferiority for you, which is why I went into the romanticism stuff.
Yeah, I have low self-esteem.
Okay, there we go.
I have a massive low self-esteem, yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I just highlighted that from Oluwali. Thank you, Oluwali. I've sensed that that's what it was. Of course, this is if that's the case, then you might not be dealing with something evolutionary. You might be dealing with something that's cultural, or like again, that's why I brought up romanticism. Romanticism is like shoved down our throats through so many different images and movies and advertisements, and it's just too simple. It's not accurate.
Mm.
And I think that that's true. If you put this girl on a pedestal, you will be disappointed at some point. I can speak from personal experience there from a number of relationships I've been in. You put people on pedestals. People don't belong on pedestals. Nothing belongs on pedestals. Pedestals are bullshit. Whoever invented pedestals needs to be hung from a pedestal. So many jokes in the last half hour. What's going on?
I wouldn't even call that a joke. Does that even work? I don't know.
I don't know. I was just trying to think what should happen to people who invented pedestals.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would encourage you to maybe just take some time to read those books we were talking about and explore what it is that is hanging you up. If you are, if you're worshiping this person, or if you're like aggrandizing them or making them to be something they're not, then be really honest with yourself about that, because no one's perfect. You will see through their flaws eventually. It's just a matter of when. And
I don't think I'm worshipping them as much anymore, actually, funnily enough, because I used to worship them a lot more. It's more sort of like the potential I see through communication, through actually being better at relationships for both of us. Like the potential for it being actually really, really so much better than just like running on instinct,
right?
That we used to, makes me excited, but also scared, and also just like you got to follow your head and your heart, a little bit of both, I think.
Right. I think that's right.
Just before you go, before I go, I feel like I've been blessed tonight from you. Thank you.
Well,
in some manner. Can you say it done been blessed to me?
It done been blessed. From Pre-Box Food. I just said, you walked me into a trap there. That's not fair. And now we have a perfect opportunity to, you actually, I did not.
I'm sorry to treat you as a performing monkey. I'm sorry. I've been watching you for years. I didn't know that.
This one's for you. I've been looking for an opportunity to play this. This one's for you. That's what you did to me.
Thank you, Julian. It's done been blessed. Okay,
good night. We actually got to play the evil laugh, and I was the butt of the joke. What the hell? Oh my god, you guys. I walked right into that. I didn't even recognize my own quote. I've made too many damn videos. Goodness gracious. Guys, it is late. It is too late to accept another caller, I'm afraid, because we will not be able to finish up a call in 10 minutes. So here's what we're going to do instead. I'm going to pop in the Discord. We're not going to be taking any more callers tonight, but I will pop in and hang out casually in the Discord. We'll just hang out and shoot the breeze for a little bit. The Discord server link is in the description. If you're not a member there, please join us. It's a great place where we're... it's kind of an extension of this live stream where when we're not streaming, people can go and get support or just meet cool people that are open-minded and chill. So it's a great place to be anyway, and I'm always looking for an opportunity to just pop in and shoot the breeze. So, and I'm not in there enough, admittedly. And that's been actually something I've been talking about with the mods with this week. So I'm going to wind the stream down 10 minutes early tonight. I'll be in the Discord for the next 10 minutes. Join us there. And thank you all for joining here. We do these streams on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 9 p.m. Central. That's 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. We also do a prank stream on Wednesday, and I'm slowly working towards more things that I won't get into, that I'm thinking about here for this channel as I slowly work towards rebooting it. So appreciate your support. Appreciate all the thoughts for the caller. This chat is an invaluable resource for the callers when they watch the replay. Huge shout out and thank you to our mods tonight. We had Jake Cooper, Off-Core, and was that it? Mr. Game & Watch is here. And I'm pretty sure that's it. Those are the only 3 names I remember seeing tonight. You guys are awesome. Thanks for keeping the chat clean. Tonight we had some serious trolling activity. So you guys, you had your work cut out for you. Goodness, what is up with these bots? What the hell? You guys are awesome. Thanks so much. Good night, everybody. See you in the Discord.